Hey everyone! So today we are going to have the last part of our basic greetings lesson in Cebuano. If you haven't watched the first part yet, you may watch it here or through the link in the description box below. So, tara! Magpadayon na ta! Filipinos enjoy knowing where people are from. Although it is not usually the first greeting, but the question "where are you from?" is often asked when getting acquainted with someone. Taga-diin ka? Or, the more common, taga-asa ka, which means where are you from? Taga can mean few things. Two of those are, first, it denotes someone's task, or it denotes the origin. In this case, it's the latter. So taga here is translated as from. Asa means where, and ka is you. Taga-asa ka. One other variation is taga-aha ka. To answer this question, you could use the prefix taga and then the name of the place you're from. For example, taga Davao or taga Davao ko. I'm from Davao. But if you want to be more specific, which some Filipino would ask, you could use the word puyo. Puyo could also mean behave, which you could say to someone when they're annoying you, but in this case, it's for asking someone where does he or she live or reside. Asa ka nagpuyo? Or diin ka nagpuyo? Which means, where do you live? Or where do you reside? People usually just give the name of the barangay or the name of the area you're living in. You don't really need to tell exactly where you're from. Generally, asking taga-asa ka also already implies that you're asking someone where they live. Unless that person lives far from where you both are now, asking specifications, asa ka nagpuyo, is usual. Asking where are you going or coming. Filipinos often greet each other with the questions, where are you going? Or where have you been? Especially when you cross paths. To many foreigners, this might appear nosy. However, here in the Philippines, it's pretty common and an informal greeting you would most likely hear pretty much every day. When asked, you don't have to indicate exactly where you are going or where you have been, as a vague response would be totally fine. But if you don't mind sharing it, sometimes it becomes a topic and you get to start a conversation with someone. Asa ka paingon? Or asa ka padulong? Or asa ka moadto? Asa means where, ka means you, and moadto means going. Where are you headed? Paingon, padulong, or moadto? All of these three mean the same thing. You can just choose whichever you want to use. Diin ka gikan, or the more common, asa ka gikan. Same with our example earlier, you don't need to respond with specifics. It's up to you if you want to give a vague response or you want to share exactly where you have been. Do you already know the word thank you in Tagalog? If you do, well, thank you in Cebuano is just the same thing. Salamat. But if you wanted to say thank you very much or thanks a lot, you would use the word daghan, which means many. Daghang salamat. Same with previous phrases, you need the linker nga, which forms daghang. So if you want to emphasize it more because you're feeling very grateful, you could add kaayo. Daghan kayong salamat. You might have noticed that the ng was transferred because we added the word kaayo. Daghan kaayong salamat. And another way of saying thank you very much is salamat kaayo. And the response to this would be walay sapayan or why sapayan, which means you're welcome. It might vary depending on the area, but here in Davao City, you're welcome, or the short form welcome, are what you will usually hear nowadays. Or you could also say, walay problema, or why problema, which means no problem. There are many ways to say goodbye in Cebuano. Let's start with bye-bye. It's derived from the English word, and you could just use this word in general, like in person or on the phone. You could also just simply say the English word bye, which is much more common these days. Another common one is sige. Sige could also mean okay, fine, sure, or just simply agreeing to someone. But in terms of goodbye, it means to go ahead. You could just say it like that when you're leaving, or you might add adto na ko, which means I'm going now, or I'm leaving now. Other variations would be adto sa ko, or muadto sa ko, ari na ko, ari sa ko, lakaw na ko, lakaw sa ko. You could use any of these by itself or joining them together with sige. Sige, adto na ko, or sige, lakaw sa ko. You could even add ayo-ayo or amping, which means take care. So now you could say sige, ayo-ayo, or sige, amping. Which is usually used out of these? We'd say both. You might hear ayo-ayo more than amping, but I'd say that you'll definitely also hear amping. We hear ayo-ayo usually being used more on friends, and amping gives it a bit extra personal touch or something like that. Many people might see amping as a more sincere way of saying take care. And if you want to specify that you're going home, you could say muli na ko, muuli na ko, muli na ko, I'll go home now. If you look up on the internet how to say goodbye in Cebuano, you might come across the word panamilit. Personally, we haven't heard of this word being used as a goodbye nowadays, at least here in Mindanao. Many Cebuano speakers also don't know what this word means, especially the younger generations. It's already somehow considered an old way of saying goodbye, although there are still people who still use it, mostly the older generations in some areas. The most common ones that are being used now are the previous phrases we discussed earlier. But if you want to use this phrase, just do it with a bit of caution, as there are some people and or in some areas take this phrase a bit differently, like with a final farewell feel kind of way. To recap what we've discussed today, let's use it in a short conversation.
Hello, mayong hapon.
Mayong hapon, Sat.
Unsay pangalan nimo?
Maria, ikaw?
Ako si Pedro. Taga-asa ka?
Taga-Davao ko. Ikaw? Asaan nagpuyot?
Sa Cebu.
Sige. Ay, tanong ko.
Sige, ayo-ayo.
And that's it for today. We hope you enjoyed this 2-part video lesson and gained some new knowledge in our explanation on how to greet and converse a bit with the Cebuano speaker. We also hope you're having fun with our YouTube shorts, and feel free to comment your thoughts and suggestions in the comment box below. See you on our next video. Amping!